On paper, the dominant species of Earth seems highly advanced. They split atoms, launch satellites, and write complex symphonies. But if you step inside one of their biological fueling stations, which they call a supermarket, all evolutionary logic completely collapses. You will find entire aisles dedicated to literal chemical weapons. Any other sane organism on this planet detects these botanical defense mechanisms and runs for its life. A deer encounters a chili plant, and its survival code screams, "Critical error. Abort." But humans? Humans have turned voluntary self-poisoning into a multi-billion-dollar global economy. They actually host competitive stadium rituals to see who can ingest the most volatile, tissue-destroying biological hazards without crying or vomiting. To our alien eyes, this looks like a mass psychological malfunction, a species-wide suicide glitch. But the data reveals a far stranger truth. Humans aren't broken. They have just figured out a terrifying way to masochistically hack their own nervous systems for entertainment. And it might just be the most uniquely human thing about them. Welcome back to the Earth Observation Logs. Let's start with a botanical defense mechanism known as the chili pepper. Millions of years ago, plants of the genus Capsicum evolved a chemical compound called capsaicin. Its evolutionary purpose was incredibly simple: deter mammals. When a mammal chews a chili pepper, the capsaicin binds to a specific receptor in the mouth called TRPV1. This is the exact same receptor that detects physical heat and tissue damage. When capsaicin hits that receptor, it sends a screaming red alert directly to the brain. Fire, extreme heat. Your mouth is literally burning. It is a beautiful biological illusion. There is no actual heat, and no tissue is being destroyed. But to a rat, a deer, or a bear, the pain is real. They spit it out, they survive, and they never touch the plant again. The plant wins. Except the plant didn't account for humans. Humans are the only mammals on Earth that actively seek out the sensation of their mouths being on fire. In 1980, a human psychologist named Dr. Paul Rosen at the University of Pennsylvania conducted a famous study on why this species loves this pain. He noticed something bizarre. When you give chili peppers to animals in a lab, even if they eat them out of starvation, they never grow to prefer them. But humans do. In fact, Dr. Rosen found that the people who love spicy food the most are the ones who score highest on tests measuring thrill-seeking behavior. Rosen coined a perfect term for this psychological glitch: benign masochism. When a human eats a Carolina Reaper, a pepper engineered by humans to be so toxic it can induce chemical burns if handled incorrectly, their body undergoes a massive stress response. They sweat, their eyes water, and their heart rate spikes. But a split second later, the conscious mind overrides the primitive brain. It says, "Wait, we aren't actually dying. This is a false alarm." And when the brain realizes it survived a mortal threat with zero actual damage, it releases a flood of endorphins and dopamine. It's a biological reward for surviving a ghost. Humans are essentially playing Russian roulette with a plant, knowing the gun is empty just to enjoy the adrenaline of the click. But chemical weapons are just the appetizer. The human obsession with self-poisoning goes much deeper, all the way to a liquid substance they call alcohol. From a strictly biochemical standpoint, ethanol is a neurotoxin. It slows down central nervous system function, destroys liver cells, and temporarily disables the prefrontal cortex, the exact part of the brain that allowed humans to build their civilization in the first place. Yet, this species consumes roughly 40 billion gallons of it every single year. Think about the absurdity from an observer's perspective. Why would evolution allow a species to develop a profound craving for a fluid that makes them clumsy, deletes their judgment, and poisons their internal organs? To find the answer, we have to look back 10 million years into Earth's past. long before humans even existed. In 2014, an Earth biologist named Dr. Robert Dudley at UC Berkeley published a groundbreaking concept known as the Drunken Monkey Hypothesis. When human ancestors dropped from the trees, they found themselves in a brutal food crisis. Fresh, pristine fruit on the branches was scarce, but the forest floor was covered in overripe, rotting fruit that had fallen and fermented. This fermentation process produced ethanol. To any normal primate at the time, eating this garbage meant severe poisoning, disorientation, and becoming an easy snack for a passing predator. But right around this time, a genetic glitch occurred. A single mutation in a gene called ADH4 suddenly allowed human ancestors to metabolize ethanol 40 times faster than any other primate on the planet. Suddenly, what was a deadly biohazard to the rest of the animal kingdom became a massive survival cheat code for humans. The pungent smell of alcohol wasn't a warning. It was a homing beacon that led them to dense, sugary calories. The primates that could smell the rot, tolerate the toxin, and swallow the poison survived the famine. The tragic irony of the modern human is that they no longer live in a jungle, and they are definitely no longer starving. Yet that ancient biological radar that kept them alive millions of years ago has never been turned off. Instead, they retrofitted it into a multi-billion-dollar nightlife industry. When you watch them line up outside a crowded club on a Friday night, remember this. They are still just primitive primates chasing the scent of rotting fruit on the jungle floor. Except now, the rot comes in a crystal glass with a little paper umbrella. If you think the chili pepper and the alcohol are isolated anomalies, you haven't seen their morning rituals. Every single rotation of this planet, billions of these primates wake up and immediately ingest a weaponized chemical compound known as caffeine. In nature's arms race, plants like coffee and tea didn't evolve this molecule to be a delicious morning pick-me-up. It is an organic pesticide. When a local earth insect takes a single bite of a coffee leaf, the caffeine floods its tiny nervous system, overstimulating it until the insect paralyzes or its heart literally explodes. It is a highly effective, lethal neurotoxin designed to clear the field. But humans? Because of their massive body mass relative to a bug, the dose they consume doesn't kill them. Instead, it pulls off a brilliant biological heist. Inside the human brain, a molecule called adenosine regularly binds to receptors to whisper, "Hey, you're tired. Go sleep." Caffeine sneaks into the brain, physically blocks those receptors, and hilariously gaslights the human into thinking they have infinite energy. Step back and look at the sheer, unadulterated absurdity of the setup from an outside observer's perspective. An apex predator wakes up in a climate-controlled artificial shelter. It realizes its biological vehicle is exhausted, so it voluntarily consumes a lethal insect poison, just so it can sit completely frozen in front of a glowing glass box, filling out Excel spreadsheets for 8 hours straight. They have taken a tool of brutal evolutionary warfare and successfully retrofitted it into a corporate productivity booster. If that isn't the most terrifyingly efficient definition of a human, I don't know what is. So, what does all of this tell us about the human mind? It reveals that these primates are currently suffering from a profound biological mismatch. For 300,000 years, the human nervous system evolved in a world of absolute, non-stop terror. They were actively hunted by megafauna, perpetually threatened by starvation, and entirely exposed to the elements. Their brains were meticulously over-engineered to handle high-stakes survival. But today, they have accidentally conquered those threats. They live in insulated concrete cubes. Food is magically delivered to their doors via glass rectangles. The predators that used to eat them are now confined to enclosures where humans pay to look at them. And this leaves them with a highly sophisticated, hyper-reactive survival engine that has absolutely nothing to do The human brain is so utterly starved for the adrenaline of survival that if the environment refuses to provide danger, the human will simply manufacture it. They will eat literal chemical weapons just to feel their mouths burn. They will drink organic neurotoxins just to watch their own minds slip. They will pay currency to sit in a dark room and watch a digital projection of a monster just to feel their hearts pound. They will even jump out of a perfectly functioning aircraft with nothing but a glorified bedsheet strapped to their backs. They have mastered the art of playing with fire without getting burned. They are hopelessly in love with the sensory data of dying, as long as they can walk away from it at the end. So, the next time you see a human sweating profusely over a plate of spicy wings, or nursing a bitter, toxic beverage, do not look at them with pity. Look at them with a bit of cosmic wonder. They are the only creatures in our quadrant smart enough to turn the deadliest traps of nature into a playground for the soul. They are a chaotic, brilliant species that thrives on the razor-thin edge of its own destruction, finding their greatest pleasures in the very things designed to wipe them out. Earth observation log, entry closed.